The South African history of Afrikaners. From European to Afrikander. The modern Afrikaner is descended mainly from Western Europeans who settled on the southern tip of Africa during the middle of the 17th century. Portuguese mariners discovered the sea passage to the east around Cape Point in 1488 and in the course of their visits came into contact with the Khoi. Initially, cultural differences caused conflicts and the Portuguese conveyed a biased image of a hostile Africa to the Western world. Nevertheless, for the commercially active Dutch of the Cape was the ideal halfway station of the sea route to the east, and the Dutch East India Company (VOC) established a refreshment post in Table Bay, present-day Cape Town. In 1957, officials, mostly Dutch and German, could retire from the company's services and become free Burghers, independent farmers. In 1688, a group of French Protestants striving for religious freedom fled from France and settled in the Cape. Together with the free Burghers, they are regarded as the earliest ancestors of the Afrikaner nation. According to J.A. Khoi and C. Bama, by 1867 the Afrikaners constituted a mixture of Dutch, which is 34.8%, Germans, which is 33.7%, French, which is 13.2%, people of color, which is 7%, British, which is 5.2%, unknown origin, which is 3.5%, other Europeans, which is 2.6%. A unique cultural group was formed which identified itself completely with African soil. As early as 1707, Hendrik Bilboot referred to himself as an Afrikander. This community developed their own language, national identity, history, and religion. They differed radically from the indigenous Khoi and San, and also from the south moving Bantu-speaking peoples, whom they would later encounter deeper into the interior. In 2006, the census determined that just over 5 million South Africans speak Afrikaans as their home language. Afrikaans is also spoken in the Republic of Namibia and by South Africans living and working in the United Kingdom, USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Language, culture, and beliefs. Religion. The Afrikaner religious experience. Afrikaner religion stems from the Protestant practices of the 17th century Reformed Church of Holland. Other religious influences in South Africa came from British English-speaking ministers in the early 1800s and the Swiss former John Calvin, 1509 to 1564, who was brought to South Africa by French settlers. Calvin believed the church should influence government policy and that races should remain pure and separate. All these influences led to the development of a unique brand of Protestantism in South Africa. Government policies on apartheid, separate development of races, were supported by Afrikaner religious doctrines. The Dutch and French who settled in the Cape were committed Calvinists or Reformed Protestants. Anyone who accepted the Christian faith was accepted in the Western cultural community. Those outside were regarded as heathens, while the Eastern slaves were predominantly Muslim. By 1795, there were 7 Dutch Reformed congregations in the Cape, and Calvinism because the foundation of the Afrikaners' philosophy of life and view of the world. Individuality and independence were identified by a pioneering existence. The migrant farmers and pioneers who took part in the great trek into the interior didn't have any kind of organized church life, and not having ministers of religion, their only source of knowledge was the Bible. In their struggle for survival, they gradually came to identify themselves with the nation of Israel. With the establishment of another two Dutch Reformed Hervormde and Hervormde churches in the 1850s, in the Transvaal, three so-called sister churches originated. Afrikaners believed that they were called to spread the Christian faith in Africa. The influence of their Christian national beliefs figured strongly in government and schools. Festivals. Festivals are part of the Afrikaners' existence and feel a need to express joy and humility over certain events. New Year and the so-called Dingaans Day or Day of the Covenant Memorial Festival were traditionally celebrated annually even before the South African War or Anglo-Boer War. The centenary of the Greek trek in 1938 was the inspiration for the People's Festival. People all over the country became involved and celebrations were organized even in the smallest villages. The highlight was on a hill outside Pretoria, where thousands of people gathered for the laying of the cornerstone of the Fort Rika monument on the 16th of December. In 1949, a second festival was held during the inauguration of the monument. Several other centenaries were celebrated with much pomp and circumstances, such as the arrival of Jan van Riebeeck in 1652 in 1952. Political events were celebrated with festivals such as the Union Festival in 1960 and the Republic Festival in 1966, when the Republic of South Africa, RSA, was 5 years old. Cities and towns usually celebrate their own centenaries with local festivities. In addition, some organizations arrange festivals on a smaller scale to commemorate certain events. Regional celebrations such as the Biltong Festival in Somerset East or the Pampo tradition liquor distilled from fruit festival at the Velam Prisolo Agricultural Museum, Pretoria, is held annually. The 1990s saw the start of annual arts festivals, the Klein Karoo National Arts Festival, Oudtshoorn, followed by Art Club in Potchefstroom, in Bos, in Nelspruit, and many others. Afrikaners also continue to celebrate their heritage in traditional ways and on special occasions don traditional dress and take part in formal dancing called folkspel. On these occasions, boys and men wear shorts with knee socks and women wear long dresses and bonnets. Male folks dancing partners also wear skirts with vests and long pants. Music. Afrikaners are particularly fond of music and song. During the Great Trek and in the early pioneering days, this was expressed in the singing of religious songs. Light music was made using instruments such as the violin and the concertina and would later develop into a traditional Afrikaans music form, namely Burghers music. Afrikaners only really began to compose Afrikaans music after the Tweedeltaalbeweging second language movement, 1905, when poets were able to express themselves in Afrikaans and the poems were set to music. Bosman did pioneering work with the music he composed for Eugene Marais Winternacht in 1908. This was the beginning of the Afrikaans art song. Composers who made significant contributions before 1930 were S. Leroux Marais, Stephen Eisen, and M. L. de Villiers. After 1930, musicians such as Gideon Farran, Arnold van Wyk, Hubert de Plessis, and Stefan Schroef played important roles. After 1945, a few operas were translated into Afrikaans and performed, but opera was to remain a foreign art form for most Afrikaans speakers. Afrikaans opera singers did, however, make their mark. Cecilia Versailles became famous abroad for her roles in operas. Mimi Khoi will be remembered for her wonderful contribution to music in Afrikaans, but also for all the years she performed in opera houses abroad. And that's it from Egypt's Network. Stay tuned to our celebrity and gossip news.